Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Animac here from the YouTube and Twitch channel Anime Uproar, and welcome to another episode of the One Piece Virgin podcast. In this episode, we are still in Dressrosa, and we have, oh man, so much has happened. I never thought I would be talking about the Legend of Korra on this podcast, but here I am. We have so many backstories to talk about. There was a lot of heart in this section of the arc, and joining me today, along with Nux and Briggs, we have our boy Rustage.
Hello, it's me, the little tiny little boy Rustage. Please
And
don't squish me.
Boy. You're a big boy
Please,
sometimes.
please don't squish me. I'm so small and pathetic. No, don't squish me. No.
Well, I mean, you do
no
like
wonder you
Kobe.
like Kobe.
Let's be honest, guys. If Rustage was in the One Piece world, he would definitely be a Marine.
I just would
You
be
would
Kobe.
be a muse.
All right, I just want to call out Nuxie Boy real quick. Thank you for tweeting out the wrong link again.
What did
No,
I
he
do?
didn't.
This time it's not the Hangouts link, so people aren't going to join, but he tweeted Nux Taku
Oh,
when he
That's
should have
funny.
tweeted Beastly Briggs.
Dude, I think I host Rant Cafe, so it's okay.
It'll work out. They'll find their way there here.
All right. Anyways, I mean, it happens, bro. We're here at twitch.tv/rankcafe having a good time. And if you want to come and join us live or share the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, it would mean a lot to us. So, guys, I don't know what to say because there were so many things that happened in this. Should we go more chronologically, or should I just start freaking out about Senor Pink?
Senior Pink.
Senior Pink!
Okay, Senor Pink. Okay. Man, so this dude...
That was easy.
This man, first we met him, and you
This
guys know from
Chad.
this Chad. We first met him like 2 episodes ago, I think, and I was like, bro, what a meme character. Like, this is your classic Oda just throwing out some, crazy, outlandish character design. And I never thought anything would come from it. Like, and then in the previous episode, we saw that, yes, he is a Chad. So him and Frankie were going at it. They're hard-boiled, though the ladies love Senor Pink. So I was like, yeah, I like this dude. But now we got his backstory, man, and I shed tears. I shed tears for this man. I have no regrets. I would do it again. Wow, Oda. Like, not only was this guy not just a meme character, even though he's hilarious, he ended up being so deep within a few pages. He made us like love this man and cry for him. Oh,
All right, you redeemed yourself. Boats, whatever.
well,
Going Mary,
okay.
who? But
Alright,
Senior Pink, I respect it.
I agree with you guys, and don't get me wrong with my following comments. But
Oh, no.
I just wanted to say that some people, and I'm not saying me, think that the Senor Pink thing it's just one of the many reasons why Dressrosa feels a bit bloated, because it's ultimately unnecessary, and because he's not that major of a character. And as good as it is, it's like you could have given that sort of backstory to maybe a character that has more stake in the overall plot, possibly.
well, first of all, let's not body shame Mr. Senor Pink.
Who
I'm
is
not.
this man and what has he done with Rustage?
Because you said it was
and I'm not
bloated.
okay. That's not my opinion. I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like some people think that way, and I want people to know.
People have said a
that-
lot of things about this arc because of how long it is, saying, hey, this could have been cut out, this could have been cut out. It didn't need to be this long.
Honestly,
That's
I think
just
people
the way
say a
One
lot of
Piece
things
is.
about this arc because most of them remember the anime.
Most of them
Yeah.
remember the
Yeah.
anime, and most of us, I remember I was reading this like in high school, and I'm like, I read it for like my entire, like all of high school, I was reading this fucking arc. So like,
That's why Briggs was known as the god of high school.
and that's why I wore a fucking baby bonnet to school. No, I'm kidding.
I personally think that it's actually a really cool and effective idea to give such a complex backstory to what is essentially a minor character, because it showcases, like, irrelevant to Senor Pink, it showcases that the world is lived in.
Did you
and
just
that
call
all-
Senor Pink irrelevant?
No, that's not what I used the wrong word, but you
You mean
like outside of
Senor
just
Pink
Senor
out-
Pink.
yeah, aside
right?
from him.
Aside from him,
yeah.
it showcases that the world of One Piece is something that's lived in, and every single minor character has the potential to have a backstory similar to Senor Pink. So Senor Pink's backstory is not just Senor Pink's backstory. It is the implied backstory of every other minor character in the series going forwards that we didn't have time to explore, which
Honestly,
I think
I'm
is really
happy you
effective.
brought that up because I have made that point several times in the past about like other characters and other things that Oda just like made this incredible depth to certain things that are just so simple. And every time I say it, the chat's like, "Oh, here goes Nux again! Ha ha ha! He said microcosm. That's his favorite word." You know? So like, thank you, bro.
Well,
Also,
you
I
do
think-
say microcosm a lot.
It's a good word.
What's the word that Animax says all the time?
For anime uproar.
I put that in my
Milk?
description for our video. No, there's Machiavellian or something.
Yeah, he says
Machiavellian.
Machiavellian
You say
all
that a
the
lot,
time.
bro. You
Yo,
say that
that
a
is
lot.
such an animac word.
Can I just say?
It's because he read Count of Monte Cristo one time, and he was like, "Now I got to use this word."
Wow. You-
Wow.
I
dude,
mean, I've actually read Niccolo Machiavelli, whom that word is based on. Rustage. Anyway,
Yeah.
but I
Can
do
I
want to
just-
say though that first, I'm thinking first. I don't think that it's bloated this arc, but it could be that I'm not watching the anime because I have heard people say that the anime is much more drawn out, and
Yes.
I'm also not waiting weekly on the chapters. So to me, I'm just like breezing through them, and I think it's all great and interesting. And if anything, I respect Oda as a writer because he takes this character that at first looks like a total gag character, and you think, what is he, some kind of like baby fetishist, like, you know, like one of those guys that likes to dress up as a baby and have like his wife treat him as his mom or something. But then when you
Animac,
find
you
out,
know way too much about this subject.
no, I watched a lot of daytime television back in high school. But the point is, when we get the reason why he dresses like a baby, like that crushed me, bro. Like I was like, bro.
Yeah, it really is the evolution from being like, wow, this is another weirdly designed character. Well done, Oda. What are you going to do with this? And then it's like, oh, he's kind of a Chad. Cool. And then it's like, oh, he's an amazing, well-written character. Holy fuck, I love him.
That's
Yes.
another good thing. And it's a thing that One Piece does a lot, is where they kind of set up a precedent so that when you see a weirdly designed character, you just assume that it's going to be another weirdly designed character because there's been a bunch before that have had no consequence besides being weirdly designed.
Yeah.
But then when he does have the backstory, it makes that all the more effective, right? It's a similar thing to, I guess, spoilers, but it's for Marineford. when with Ace's death,
That's not okay.
with Ace's death is a lot more impactful because of all the characters that didn't die before then. Because Oda had the reputation of never killing characters, so that when Ace finally did die, it had its more effectiveness. And it's the same sort of thing. One Piece does this.
Yo,
thing
I like
where-
that example. That's a good example.
Yeah, well
yeah,
done.
One Piece. Thanks, guys. One Piece does this thing where it builds up a lot of tropes, in tropes in One Piece universe that it then breaks later on to give that sort of shock value. And it's like stuff that's set up years and years in advance in such a minor way, which I just think is really effective.
Dude, I like the way he said advance.
Nice. Okay, I want to say Rustage. So you're saying that he's kind of like an unimportant character, but I will say, or you're saying that's what people say and it could have been cut out. The cool thing about Doflamingo, which is we're going to talk about later, is he cares about, like, these people on his crew are his family. So without well developing his family, we probably wouldn't care as much about this whole situation going on and about Doflamingo.
Another thing is, I loved how
Yes and no. I actually, believe it or not, even though I'm a massive stan of Dressrosa in general, I think it's an underappreciated arc. I do think that there is a disconnect between Senor Pink and Doflamingo. I don't think that the reason why I love Senor Pink or Doflamingo as much is because they have a connection. I look at them kind of as separate entities. I appreciate what you're
but I
saying.
think it's interesting that Doflamingo cares about his crew based on his personality. And I feel like,
I think we have to talk about Doflamingo's backstory.
all right,
we do,
Adam,
but I
take it
will
away.
say before that though that Baby 5, I'm glad that she found love. But how did this woman survive this long? Can anyone tell me?
Well, she's
Like-
5 babies, isn't she? She's got the power of 5.
I don't know because
Every
Would-
other person has just been 1 baby, but she's 5 babies. So she's
That's
5
That's
times
pretty
as strong.
crazy if you think about it. That's a
as
lot
a
of babies.
dangerous pirate, you would think that someone else would have figured out that she could just tell her, "Hey, kill yourself."
That's a lot of babies.
Yeah, she's like a cat. You know how a cat
I'm
has 9
fixated
lives?
on that thing Rustage said about
You know
the
how a
babies.
cat has 9 lives, right?
True.
Baby 5 has 5 lives because she's got.
She has 5 babies.
She's 5 babies.
Or she
I
was
like-
just the
I
5th
like
baby
this.
of her family, and then she was
Yeah,
left
yeah,
in the
yeah,
woods with
whatever.
no
Nah,
one.
get out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
What
yeah,
are you
yeah,
saying,
no,
man?
no.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, no, it's obviously the thing where she has 5
Yeah,
lives because she's
right.
5
It's
babies
that
in a
5
trench coat.
babies thing. Right, exactly.
Yeah, she's a baby Megazord.
Honestly, you're embarrassing yourself, Animac.
Bro, the weak don't get to decide how many babies they have. Now let's go.
What? What does that mean?
Doflamingo.
Life lessons with Animac.
This is
Doflamingo.
why Animac likes Akainu. Okay, continue.
It's a reference to a Dofi quote, Rustage. Anyway, so we learned Doflamingo's backstory. First, we learn that as a child, he grew up as a celestial dragon until he was about 10, and he lived in Marijoa, the holy city. But then his father decided that, yo, these people are crazy here. Like, we're just humans like everyone else. We're not these like superior gods. We should just go and live in the real world so that my sons grow up as real humans with compassion and empathy and things like that, and not think that, other people are expendable. Very noble goal. But once they actually are released, it's funny because, first of all, these people must delude themselves like a lot to convince themselves that they are so much superior than other people. And it was funny that as soon as the father,
dude, as someone
father,
that, dude,
hold on,
let
me finish. Let me finish.
I don't think I delude myself.
Nux, let me finish. So he basically, the father of Doflamingo, as soon as he says, "Hey guys, I don't think this is right. I want to leave this place," the other dragons can't fathom how anyone would want to leave because they've convinced themselves of this. That instantly they're like, "Oh yeah, you were always a heretic, right?" Because they're like, "How can we explain that one of us doesn't agree with us? Oh, it must be because there was something wrong with him all along." And it's like, it's so similar to like cults and like ideological fundamentalists. And I thought that was a great touch. And then when they end up going and living on their own, even though they're trying not to do anything bad and just minding their own business, because they are celestial dragons who no longer enjoy the protection of the world government, they are attacked and beaten and mistreated by all the other humans who feel mistreated by the celestial dragons, and then they want to take it out on these guys. And I thought it was like so good to showcase that other side of the suffering, because so far we've only seen the celestial dragons doing terrible things and no one has any sympathy for them because they're monsters. And then you see these guys being mistreated in the same way by the regular humans as the cycle of violence continues.
Yeah, what it just shows is how
I love that backstory. So at Rustage, you were saying?
Sorry, it just shows how entrenched like human hatred can be. And I think it is a really effective tool. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from Doflamingo's backstory is it adds more to the world of the celestial dragons and the people's opinions on them and the stuff like that. Because obviously, the celestial dragons will play, they play an important role in One Piece. So you've got to like have this bits and pieces of setup for the backstories and how people's opinions on them throughout the story. And I think it's really effective, and Oda does that sort of thing really well, where it's not just a big exposition dump. You slowly start learning more and more about the cultures and societies in One Piece through.
I very much like that. Like, we understood the fishmen, but that's after hundreds of chapters of being aware of fishmen.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Like once we got to the Fishman Island arc, we had Arlong, we had Tom from Water 7, we had the whole Sabaody archipelago thing where they were selling them, and then we got hit with the Fishman backstory.
Yeah, there's a lot of anime where it's like, I remember you used to call it Brockatosis, where like Brock would explain what's going on, but a lot of times like they'll throw something new at you and explain everything about it within the next
instantly
right then and there, or within the next couple episodes.
Hunter x Hunter doesn't explain anything compared to the depths of what it has to say. Get Eddie.
Like, look at Doflamingo. We knew who Doflamingo was like 500 chapters ago, but now we're getting his arc.
More than 500 chapters. We knew he was like 700
That
chapters
is insane. You get this a little bit of a taste
no,
of
600, 550.
So 600 chapters ago, he was like, when he was first introduced, he had one of the largest bounties. So we knew he was this huge entity, but we didn't really know what was going on with him and why he was that big. Then you find out he's a Shichibukai, and then you find out that he's like later on, obviously in Punk Hazard, you find out that like he has a pirate crew and that he has this underground alias Joker, and then you find out that he's selling stuff to like weapons to Kaido, and there's just so many layers that are slowly enveloped, and now we get his backstory and why he acts the way he is and who he is today. It's like a little bit at a time, and it's beautifully done.
Yeah, and it sucks for his father because he wanted to be a good person. He didn't want to.
I don't think it's just that he wanted to be a good person. The reason why it's so powerful is because he genuinely was a good person. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, he didn't want to treat other people.
He was deified. He was someone that was deified that stepped down to live among the mortals.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is he didn't want to keep treating the normal people so terribly, and then the normal people treated him terribly because of his association with
And then he
the
couldn't get
Celestial
back.
Dragons. Yeah.
Dude, but now that's fascinating in regards to like this the societal aspect of how the celestial dragons are viewed. Now, and I guess from Dofi's father's perspective, but look at it from Dofi's perspective.
Yeah, so basically his father took everything away from him, from his perspective. He was in heaven, and then he went straight to hell. Like, the worst things happening to him and his brother, getting tortured and all this stuff, to the point that Doflamingo ends up killing his father and trying to get back into Marijoa by bringing them his father's head. But then they're like, it's too late. Your whole bloodline are traitors. We don't accept you. So then he became this crazy criminal, Machiavellian criminal, Brig. And
Nice.
And the interesting thing that it was mentioned, it wasn't specific, but it said that Doflamingo, even though he is not a Celestial Dragon anymore, he still holds sway with the world government and the Celestial Dragons because he knows about a secret treasure inside of Marijoa that no one is supposed to know about, so he can leverage that knowledge to influence.
Doflamingo. So now look at how powerful this man is, just on an information basis, aside from like, physical strength, which is what I think One Piece really shines with. It's not just about who can punch a bigger mountain into oblivion. Like, this man had ties with Caesar, he had ties with the warlords, he has ties with Kaido. He has ties with Fujitora. He's too dangerous to be defeated by anyone.
He's
no
the
one wants
king
to
of
mess
Dressrosa. Also, we forgot that he's a king of Dressrosa, and that backstory.
He became the king of Dressrosa. He can't be touched. He has this blackmail material info over the heads of the world government. This is a terrifying villain. And seeing where he comes from, that is the absolute atom drop. That's like when you drop your mic, okay? When you see how everything he does makes sense from his perspective. Yeah, he's a complete psycho, but if you look at the things that he experienced to get to this point, you're like, bruh, anyone could be driven to this level of insanity.
Yeah, and then it's very interesting to contrast him with his brother Corazon, who had the same experience, and yet he decided that Doflamingo was so dangerous and so evil that he had to be stopped. So his brother actually became a spy for the Marines, Rustage's boys, and he ended up trying to bring down his own brother and his crew while at the same time mentoring Law and saving his life. Oh, man, that was dope as well.
Man, the layers and how everything connects is so beautifully done.
Dude, I love Law's backstory also. And Corazon's a powerful character because he's only remembered through memory. But at the same time, we get like two different perspectives of him. We get to see him through the eyes of Dofi, and we get to see him through the eyes of Law.
Yeah.
And we really start to blend those two to see who he was as well.
Yeah, and he also looks like a crazy clown, so I'm sure you love him.
I do.
Yeah. No, it was kind of crazy because so we have the whole Law backstory, right? He is from this town where they were mining this white lead, which ended up over generations being poisonous to the population. And even though everyone wanted this material and it was very valuable, when people started getting sick, they basically cordoned off that whole area and said, we don't know if this shit is infectious. No one gets in anywhere out of that place. And people who try to get it, leave were shot. A war broke out. So many people were killed because they were afraid that they were like infectious and stuff, even though they weren't. It's not an infectious disease. And Law lived through all of that. He survived by hiding in corpses, bro. He lost his whole family, his sister, everybody, all these innocent people died.
Just saying, hiding in corpses is probably one of the most Chad things ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
He's my favorite YouTuber.
So
that's pretty sus. Hiding in corpses.
Okay, yeah.
Bro,
No,
why
but,
didn't you click
so the
report?
thing that happened
Why
with
didn't you
that
click
is
report?
the thing
I
that
missed the
happened with
button.
that.
Sorry.
Guys,
Go ahead.
Briggs,
Anyway.
you interrupted Animac. Prepare for divine retribution.
Anyway,
No one interrupts Animac with getting away with it.
I think Animac interrupted me. Vote him out.
That's not true. I was talking about Law, and then
You realize Animac gets interrupted by Rustage, and Rustage starts coughing.
Oh, sus.
I'm so sorry.
All right.
This is
I'm
what I'm
sorry,
saying.
Animac,
Divine
continue.
retribution, bro. You don't interrupt Animac and live to tell the tale. Continue, Animac.
Yeah. So what happened
Anyway,
was
so what else I was saying? If you want to
Nux, man, like it's not funny. Like it's just immature.
This time it was funny. No, this time it was funny.
No, it's just immature and childish. And
No, this time it was
it's
funny.
stale. Like, bro, you do
Nice
it over
try.
time and it's stale and lame.
No,
Anyway,
this time it was funny.
so the thing about Law is he hates the world government. He hates what they did to his entire nation and, of course, to him. He thinks he's going to die, so he wants to as long as he lives, to do as much damage as possible and destroy as many things as possible. He's just completely nihilistic. And Corazon is secretly working for the world government through the Navy, right? So there's that tension too, where Corazon doesn't want to tell him that he's working for the Navy, but he's working for them because he thinks that his brother is such a greater evil. But then later, Law learns that he was working for him, but he still loves Corazon for everything that Corazon has done for him. And we learn about Law's real name, which is Trafalgar D. Waterlaw.
Yo, how sick is that?
Yeah, that's sick. And Corazon tells us that the D, everyone fears it around the world because they are said to be the enemies of the gods, and the gods are probably the celestial dragons. So it's like the D are somehow the enemies of the celestial dragons. The celestial dragons won that war 800 years ago. So the Ds must have been on the other side somehow of that war. Am I right?
Well,
I mean, now you're getting very much into theory territory.
Yeah, boy, that's really what we're talking about. That's on the right track. Yo, how sick is it to finally have this, at least some, it's still blurry, obviously, but now it's at least in somewhat, levels of clarity. You're beginning to sort of make an outline of what was going on.
Yeah. No,
and also, didn't Corazon tell, he told Law, don't tell anyone that your name is D, right?
Yeah.
And when he told, didn't he tell Dofi right now? Did that just happen?
Yeah, I think it happened. I'm not sure when exactly Dofi found out. Was it right now in the present?
I think it was right now in the present. He just yells, "My name is Trafalgar D. Waterlaw," and Dofi just flips out.
And the water part too seemed to be like some kind of secret too, because he just not even just the D, but the water, right?
So I'm not gonna lie, right? I had a theory when it came to Law, and this isn't spoilers because this is a theory I came up with at this point, so it's not spoilery at all. My theory was. We have these two major enemies that Law needs to face, right? He needs to face Dofi and he needs to face Kaido, correct? So you're a man that likes Napoleonic history, right?
Yeah, I'm currently listening to a Age of Napoleon podcast, which is like very extensive. If I could like listen to a podcast that covers day to day, every single day of Napoleon's life, I would listen to it.
Okay.
But go on.
Well, then you'll like this theory. So if you are familiar, there are two wars that Napoleon lost.
Well, I feel that he was shafted, but go on.
What? Okay, don't give me this. What were the two wars that he lost?
Well, he lost in 1814. I don't know which coalition it was, like 7th Coalition War.
He lost to the Spaniards.
Oh, in the Iberian Peninsula, you mean?
Do you remember the name of that place? In Spain?
The battle specifically, I don't. But
it was called the Battle of Trafalgar.
Okay, but that was the British too, right? The British were in that.
It was the alliance. It was the British and Spain alliance.
Yes,
and he lost the second fight later
in Waterloo. Yes,
Trafalgar and Waterloo. Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, dude. When I made this connection, I was actually high.
Like you were high on life after, or you were high. Okay.
I don't do drugs, but I was high on the connection, dude.
No, that is cool. Yeah.
Because Dressrosa is based off Spain.
Wow.
Dude,
I mean, I've heard this a lot of times at this point, but like,
yeah, I love this theory.
The first time I heard Nux tell me it or watched it in his video, I flipped out.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
It's the first Nux video I watched.
Hey.
I'm just
by the way, Rustage, if you remember it, I was actually right about so much stuff that happened later.
Yeah, of course. I did not doubt you, Mr. Nux.
Dude, even something that was revealed in the latest chapter of One Piece was actually something I predicted in my theory.
Have I read the latest chapter? Oh, fuck.
I'm not going to spoil, no worries.
Yeah, I'm four chapters behind.
Rustage, if you didn't read the latest chapter, then you are genuinely not okay, and I'm concerned for you. You always read it the second it comes out, so I don't spoil you.
I know.
So I wonder if... So Battle of Trafalgar was in 1805, and I believe that's the battle where Nelson got killed, Horatio Nelson.
Look, I'm not big on Napoleonic history.
I wonder if Nelson is going to be an equivalent character then. Because he's a major figure.
Well, anywho, I thought that was pretty epic. That was a pretty epic connection.
And then in the whole thing with Corazon, what ends up happening is Corazon tries to heal Law's illness, and they keep going to different hospitals, but everywhere where they go, they still think Law's disease is infectious, and they refuse to help him, and they like report them to get him, to the government and all that type of stuff. So in the end, the only thing that seems to be able to save Law is the OPOP fruit, sometimes called the op fruit, but it's clearly the OPOP fruit.
It is pretty OP.
And Corazon learns that Dofi has found where that fruit is, and he's planning to get it. So Corazon's like, Law, we got to get there first, and we got to give it to you so that you can become skilled with it and use it to heal yourself. And there's a ton of stuff going on with this OPOP fruit, guys, because obviously Law ends up getting the fruit. Corazon sacrifices himself in order for Law to get it. It's epic and emotional. But this fruit itself is really interesting because apparently the holder of the OPOP fruit can sacrifice their own life in order to make someone else immortal, or at least that's what the legend says. That's what the legend says, and that made me. And apparently, this fruit was held by some legendary doctor in the past. So this made me right away think of Dr. Vegapunk, bro.
Well, it brings up the question that if they know that this is a thing, then it must have already happened. So there must be a character in the One Piece universe who is immortal.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it's Dr. Vegapunk because I think that he had this fruit, or someone else who had it, and then they made him immortal. But let's say he had this fruit, but he used it to make himself immortal by making himself like a cyborg or something. Then his physical body might have died, the fruit might have reincarnated, but he still somehow used the fruit to create the cyborg and to create all that futuristic technology that exists in the first place.
I don't know, bro. It sounds
very
weird.
Interesting.
I do like the theory crafting in One Piece because there's so every mystery gets answered and a new one starts. So I do love all this stuff.
I mean, the Vegapunk one makes more sense to me than people have said, like Dr. Kureha, because she's super old. I'm just like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's possible. Anything's
no,
possible
but
in
like,
One Piece
I mean,
world.
you could guess that some of these like elders or whatever, maybe. Yeah, I mean, you never know. There are so many questions, but it also opens up the possibility that, dude, at some point in the story, Law might sacrifice his life to give someone immortality.
Luffy,
like
question mark?
Maybe.
Again, if this is true about the need to sacrifice, because if Vegapunk years ago sacrificed his physical body in order to become like an immortal cyborg, like he did, he's clearly creating these things with the pacifistas, then maybe it's just got lost in translation and people think you have to give up your life for someone else.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if that's the case, then you can literally make everyone immortal. Like someone sacrifices himself and becomes a pacifista, and then someone else is immortal, and just like everyone becomes immortal. I don't know, bro.
Yeah, but you would need this fruit and that technology in order to create it, to create the conditions.
Yeah, so
I guess it depends what you mean by immortal. Is it immortal in like a biological sense, or is it immortal in a technological sense?
I don't know, boy. It just says immortal.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. Oh, and also we got some cool stuff in the Jinbei cover stories. So we saw like he sees a bunch of large ruins falling on top of a town, and he's like, what's going on? And it turns out that the giant sea creature from Fishman Island is throwing undersea ruins into a town, and one of those ruins ends up being a poneglyph.
Ooh.
Dum dum dum.
So I feel like that's
what was the name of that big fish guy?
They called him like the sea god or something.
No, I keep forgetting his name. Like I ask every time, I keep forgetting his name. Someone in chat's gonna tell me. No, it's that massive Watatsumi. Thank you, chat.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
He looks like a human underwater.
dude, I love He looks like a fat potato.
Yeah. No, but like this is another one of those situations where you feel like the cover story seems random, but it's gonna end up becoming relevant later.
Indeed.
Especially with the poneglyph.
Like everything else. Thank you, Hookie Wookie, for the 5 subs. Rustage, please tell us something.
I'm so sorry. I didn't have nothing to add for anything you've talked about recently with this theory. I apologize.
So, Rustage, why aren't you a big fan of Doflamingo?
I can't say because it's all to do with it's mostly to do with the next bit.
Oh, I know. What
I
you're
think
gonna say
think
then.
all
Okay,
this
don't worry
build up
about it.
is great. I think Doflamingo is set up to be this incredible character who uses intelligence and stuff and has all these connections, and everything Nux said I 100% agree with, right? I just think that, well, I don't want to say. Get me on the next episode.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'll rant about it.
He's not a vegan, is he?
I was just a little disappointed with some of the decisions.
A lot of people are disappointing with Doflamingo based on the fact that we see in the beginning that he has this manipulation power or whatever, and now he has this birdcage that like no one can break out of. Like,
yeah,
Zoro can't cut out of it.
To be fair, the birdcage was shown in the flashback as well, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like he was using the birdcage specifically just for this arc.
Dude, they just came up with it. If you show a flashback, that doesn't mean, you see, 40 years ago, this is in fact what happened. Dude, they just came up with the flashback now to explain the birdcage. The birdcage is still an asshole, and I will stand by that. But I don't think that makes Dofi a worse character.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not just it.
No, that's not just it. I know what you're talking about, but I still think Dofi stands head and shoulders above anime villains as one of the top.
I agree, and I agree. I like Doflamingo a lot, and I did a One Piece villains tier list recently, and I had him at A tier because I think he's really, really good.
Hell yeah, I think he's S tier.
That's fair enough. Whenever I have a criticism about characters, I don't want people to misconstrue it as I hate this character. I dislike this character.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, dude, I mean, like, of course not. When you hate a character, you'll say it, like how you hate Endeavor from My Hero Academia.
No, I don't hate Endeavor.
Bro, Endeavor is a way better character than Subaru. I'll tell you that much.
Oh gosh.
I would argue that is probably true. Yeah, I'm not opposed. I like Endeavor a lot.
There's some I don't know.
But I would think that Endeavor's a better character than Kobe.
I think my favorite One Piece villain is Blackbeard. I think
that is fair. Blackbeard's a great character, but I think for me personally, my favorite villain is probably Dofi. My second favorite villain was not yet introduced to anime.
I'd probably same. Yeah, I think if we're thinking about the same characters, probably same.
The thing I really like about a villain, so obviously a villain can be good even if they're just completely evil and psychotic and all that type of stuff.
Yes.
But what makes a villain
and relatable,
what makes a villain go from S to A for me is if I can totally see myself being in his position if, my life had gone differently.
Wait, that makes you like them less?
No, I would like him even more if
But you said from S to A. That's going down.
If he can't relate to a character in any way, he puts them down a peg.
Like I'm just saying, if it's like a villain that has a philosophy that I'd be like, yo, bro, if my life had his circumstances, I could have been this guy.
Yeah,
like that makes it even better for me. Even though you can still have a great villain.
What I like
just crazy.
What I like in a story is villain variety. I like sympathetic villains. But I get a bit annoyed when every single villain is a sympathetic, redeemable villain, right? And it's just like, oh, come on, can we just have a villain that's...
Well, I mean, look, One Piece is not fairy tale. I don't think that every single character... Not every villain in One Piece is redeemable.
No.
Just because I understand where Dofi's coming from, it doesn't even make him redeemable. He's a horrible... He's a travesty of a man.
And I was going to say, I think One Piece has a really good variety of villains. The villain variety in One Piece is really, really good. You have some villains that... you understand where they're coming from, but they're still evil. I think the motivations are pretty diverse. Some villains are just evil. I like someone like Spandam. I like him because he's just an asshole, right? He's
a pompous rich prick, and
he's not the most complex. He's not the most complex villain, but you've got to have your Spandams if you're going to have your Doflamingos, and you've got to have your Blackbeard.
Even if you, I would argue that
alongside your Akainu's.
On a surface level, if you could look at Doflamingo and Crocodile and say that they are somewhat similar, like on a surface level, that they're these two guys, they're both warlords, they earned the trust of the government, they both tried to take over a country.
In terms of plans, but their motivations.
But then you look at them
different.
and you see where they came from, and you can't find two more diverse villains.
It's true, and it's what makes them both really, really good and different in that way. And
I'd imagine most people like Doflamingo more because of the backstory and all the nuance, how there's so much stuff, there's so many layers and stuff going on with Doflamingo, while Crocodile was more one note.
I also like how One Piece has a lot of quote-unquote villains that are only villains just because their goals are opposite to the Straw Hats. People like Smoker.
Antagonists.
And they're antagonists, but they're not bad people, right? Like Smoker and...
Exactly. It's more complex than just a black and white good guy, bad guy dynamic.
And I think it's really important to have this variety when you have a world where One Piece where it's not about like the title. It's not you're a Marine doesn't mean you're good or bad necessarily.
Yep.
You're a pirate
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're good or bad like from the get go. You're not inherently bad just because you're a pirate. It's your actions that like define you as a person, and they need that variety for this story to work.
Yeah, and that is encapsulated perfectly with Corazon because he is working with the Navy. Meanwhile, the world government is doing terrible things. They destroyed all the law's entire country.
I find Navy character. Okay, this is probably a no-brainer, but some of my favorite characters are Navy characters that are good. That I feel like eventually, maybe at the very end of the story, will be on Straw Hat's side. Characters like Smoker and Tashigi and Kobe and characters like this, I really, really like.
I mean, I get you. I like the idea that
Fujitora.
the world is a massive blend that you don't really know. Like it's not like every pirate's bad, every Marine is good. You don't have like these just freaking categories. It's not a bento box, you know?
Yeah, don't forget our boy Aokiji.
Dude,
love Aokiji.
almost every character is an exception. Every major character is an exception in some way. You're not going to think Luffy's an exception to basic pirates?
Yeah.
Of course he is.
It's
Con
great.
Oriano, yes, Sam, thank you.
Doflamingo's an exception to everything. He's not a regular celestial dragon, that's for sure.
I think Condi Oriano used his OPOP no Mi on Karo Diak.
Probably.
Most likely, right?
Right. Bet
Bro,
there
I
is
just
going
can't-
to be.
Rustage, I
you
can't wait. I can't wait for the redemption arc of Saint Charlos.
Well, I was going to say something along those lines. Bet, and you can quote me on this. You know, down the line, there will be another celestial dragon character who is a disillusioned celestial dragon who then realizes how bad the celestial dragons are and joins and helps the good side. Similar to Doflamingo's father, but he's like smarter about it, and he's uses his power as a celestial dragon for good. Right? That's my prediction. You can quote me on that.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Honestly.
Yeah, and I'm really fascinated now about the whole D, the will of D, and I think that somehow they are connected to the losing side in that war from the Void Century. Now, in terms of, like, we had a lot of backstory stuff, but we also had some pretty cool fights happening towards the end of this section of the arc. Yep. I love that the fight between Rob and Cabbage and Bartolomeo versus the guy who blows up. That was really, really cool.
Fight.
Bro, Bartolomeo, man.
Dude, Bartolomeo, man. He's such a Chad. I love him.
He's like, she winked at me. Ah!
Just loses his mind. Dude.
Oh, man, I love it.
We had some other pretty epic fights, too.
Yeah, so Zoro versus Pika. That was freaking crazy. Like, I don't think even Tekking can memorize all of the crazy names of Zoro's attacks.
He does.
He knows everyone.
Does he? Because that, like, wow. Like, that's like 18 Dawn Shining Mountain Pass. Cut.
He probably knows the difference from the dub, sub, and 4Kids version.
Probably. But, like, the cool thing is with that fight, we haven't seen Zoro go all out yet since the time skip. And I would argue, even against Pika, he wasn't going all out. Like, he's not even close. This man just ran at this freaking mountain that no one thought anyone had a chance against. Like, honestly, Pika was terrifying. He was just towering over the whole country.
You know what's another thing I like, and we'll obviously see this more going forward, but most of the time after a time skip, most authors will show everything in the next arc, or a lot of things in the next arc, to show off what they've learned. Where it's like, oh, in Fishman Island, we got a little bit. In Punk Hazard, we get a little bit more. In Dressrosa, we're getting more. It's like they didn't use everything that they learned in that one arc. So it's like every step of development they made throughout their time skip is going to be shown over time and revealed over time.
Dude, but I love that clip. Zoro just flying at Pika, slices him in half. The way the top half of that whole mountain is just in the air, and everyone, all the fights that are going on at the same time, they all just stop. and they look. Literally, you have foes that were fighting, trying to rip each other's throats out, and they're just standing side by side, mouths gaping in awe at the fact that this massive mountain above them was just split in twain. And this man, he just, with observation hockey, he was able to know where Pika was, and he just kept cutting it down and dividing him down further and further.
Yeah, he
with
used
one jump.
He used observation to see where he was and an armament on his swords.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a big thing that we learned, that he learned from Mihawk how to use hockey to make all of his swords much more powerful.
So that means technically every sword has the potential to maybe one day become a black sword, I believe.
Yeah, that was something that Mihawk
theory.
said.
That's
That's a theory, but Mihawk did say a line similar to that.
No, there's allusion to it, but like it's not.
Nothing's confirmed.
I don't know. All right,
we don't know how it would happen. Just theory, like, hey, maybe if you do it a certain amount of times or for an extended period of time, it just stays black forever. But like we don't really know.
Yeah, and Pika
really
could
know.
also use hockey on his whole body too.
Yeah, and Zoro still sliced the crap out of him.
Yeah, he did.
That was a good fight. I like that fight a lot.
Yeah, I did too. And people in the chat were like, "Did you hear Pika's voice, Animac?" Yes. Nux sent me a clip, and I laughed my ass off. It was great. We also had, obviously, the Frankie versus Senor Pink fight. Like the Chads of Chads, just like real men, deliberately not dodging each other's attacks because they respect each other that much.
It reminds me of Yusuke versus that guy in the tournament, but so much more Chadly.
Bro, that was like
there was Yusuke versus this guy in a tournament in Yu Hakusho where they put a knife behind their foot and they just one at a time.
Yeah, I love
one
that
at a
fight.
time
What
punched
a
each other in the
Chad
face.
move! Oh my god,
I love that.
He was an Australian dude. I watched the dub. The man had like this hard Australian accent.
Honestly, that's one of my favorite fights in Yu Hakusho, and it makes me love Yusuke as a character. And like this reminds me of it. You get a suplex one way, a punch to the face the other way, and they're just letting it happen to see who's a bigger man.
Dude, but Senor Pink just ripping your heart to shreds with that backstory, man. It's like, dude, this man was literally he has like a pacifier in his mouth. He's wearing a bib. He's dressed like a baby. Why do I feel for this man?
Bro, that hit, bro. That hit different. And yeah, it's just I love the respect these guys show each other, Frankie and Senor Pink, because there's a whole kingdom-wide battle going on, okay? Everyone's life is in danger, but they're like, no, this is a one-on-one between the two of us, bro. What happens, happens. I'm showing you respect. I'm not trying to defeat you quickly, or I'm not trying to run away or get my friends to help me. This is just Chad on Chad. And when they're done, they respect each other all the more.
Bruh. I'm surprised you didn't say, but if I was there, I wouldn't have wasted all my time. I would have shot a cannon out of my head.
I mean, I obviously would not have, but I still respect them. Like, I would not have done what Bellamy did. What a disgrace that guy is.
What did Bellamy do?
Bellamy's a great character. Shut up.
Bellamy fought Luffy because he was like, bro, I simped for Dofi this whole time, and I know Dofi's kind of a douche, but like I'm still gonna simp for him for my honor. So he just kept fighting Luffy until Luffy finally beat him. And then at the end of this section, Luffy's like mad that he had to like almost kill Bellamy because Dofi made him fight him. So he's like, bro, Dofi, I'm coming for you. And Dofi's like, oh, that's good, because when you come up here, you'll see that you'll be surprised to find Law's dead body. And then it's like, bam, that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah, that's where I stopped it. Where Luffy just starts screaming.
Love it when Luffy screams.
Yeah, no, Luffy does that every
even
once
though
in a while.
I'm memeing because of Nux, I do think that Bellamy is a much more sympathetic character now than when he went into
Simp! Sorry.
Yep. I admit, Nux, you were right about him having like a redemption type thing.
Yeah.
Again,
Flamingo is a good character. Like he's another example of a good villain. Because he's like a total lackey of a villain, but he's actually a good villain.
Yeah, like when we was first introduced, I was like, I hate this dude. He's the dumbest loser idiot. Oh, dreams. We don't believe in dreams. Like, okay, fuck off, bro. But in the end, he did change a lot. And Luffy, like throughout this arc, is like, man, Bellamy, you really changed a lot.
But the thing is, a lot of characters and people in general, they things happen to them that change the way that they view life. And arrogance and ignorance is kind of stemmed from a lack of, things happening to someone. And Bellamy is a good example of a character who not many negative things. I don't think he had like a super sad backstory. He's just a pirate, right? He's just a regular pirate guy. He's greedy. But then the negative thing that happened to him was being beat up by Luffy, and then Doflamingo ditching his ass. And
I don't know about that, Rustage. I'd imagine like a good example, like Senor Pink, for example, his backstory may have never been shown, where Bellamy could have had a backstory that made him think that dreams are worthless. I think that's very
you know
possible.
what? That's true. Okay, that's true. But I guess that still plays into my point, is that like the things that happen to characters is what shapes their worldview, right? And what I like about Bellamy is you essentially get to see what happens to him that then changes his worldview later.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah.
So like if you to the point where like if you could meet Bellamy now and then he would have a flashback, which is what happened with him and Luffy.
Yeah.
Like
if we were following someone else's story and when Bellamy was introduced, we would get a flashback of Luffy knocking him out.
Yeah. So all we know about Bellamy is that at some point, like as a young man, he's like, Dofi, I want to join your pirates. And then Dofi's like, okay, you can be part of our crew as long as you don't lose. If you lose, you're out. That type of thing.
So this man was fighting with his future on the line, and then got one shot again.
Also, yeah, we had Mansherry. Like her devil fruit was revealed to be like a healing devil fruit power. So I'm guessing that's going to be relevant in the future because that's pretty important in big battles. And we also had the Kyros versus Diamante fight, which like it wasn't the highlight of my read through, but I do respect the whole Kyros Rebecca backstory as well.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's okay. I think there was I like his what's his name, Kairos versus Diamante or whatever his name was. That was cool.
Yeah, it's just I feel like Senor Pink's backstory just kind of like took the emotion.
It was too good, man. It was
like
too good.
It drew the emotion all in that direction.
Which that could be a bad thing.
That's true.
But it's not. Rustage, stop pointing fingers. What's wrong with
I mean,
you?
it could be a bad thing where it's
something
like...
can be, yeah.
It would be a bad thing if it overshadowed like Law. Like you have Law's backstory and Doflamingo's backstory, and it's like, no, these were nothing. We had Senor Pink, but Senor Pink's I don't think detracted at all, because at the end of the day, it's not like his. If he would have had like a 30-chapter backstory, we would really be delving into the nuances of Senor Pink. Then yes, I would agree. But they stuffed so much emotion into like 3 pages.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I will say, though, I love
amazing,
Kyros as a character, and like that kind of reveal that he was like the father the entire time. But Rebecca could have been such a better character, man. They could have put more effort into that.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with Rebecca as well. I mean, but I wasn't surprised because for me, Rebecca's kind of a Vivi clone, and
she's just unfortunately a princess prop, which is a little bit of an issue in One Piece.
Well, she had the whole like her unique thing is that even though she was fighting as a gladiator, she didn't want to actually hurt anyone, right? So that was like her little unique thing.
That's so cute.
What is wrong with her outfit? Why? Who thought that was a good idea? Why
did Doflamingo?
It was explained many times, Rustage.
Was it?
Explained many times.
Okay, right. It doesn't matter if it's explained
idea.
in the fiction of the universe. The author was still the person who Oda still drew her that way. Like,
Oda likes boobs, man. There's nothing wrong with liking boobs.
I agree with the outfit choice.
Yeah, the reason for the outfit was that the less weight she has on her like gladiator outfit, the better.
And I appreciate that he gave it a reason.
But then
he tried.
Dude, if he wouldn't have given it a reason, then you could chalk it up to just plain annoying fan service. And this, I think, it's comedic fan service, and I can respect it.
But she's also like 16. But the thing is, if that was the case,
but in One Piece, you're legal at like 6 or something.
If that was the case, then why is it metal? Why if it needs to be the least amount of weight, why doesn't she just wear not
cloth,
heavy metal, like cloth or something?
Golden
and then
heavy.
She could cover up
aesthetic, Rustage.
She could cover up more of her body because and then you could say, oh yeah, but gold is more protective. But like, she's not protecting anything like that. She's protecting like maybe a 6% of her body.
Can I just say that someone in chat just came in with the big brain and said that if Dressrosa is Spain, in Spain the legal age is 16, then she's legal.
Well, yeah. So I always laugh when people are like, bro, she's 16. It's like, first of all, 16 is the age of consent in most countries, including Canada where we live. But second of all, she's a fictional character. She doesn't exist, guys.
I'm not having this discussion.
Yeah, let's not. Okay. Anywho, with that said and done, Animac, I would like to hear, now that we've covered everything, what are your overall thoughts so far on Dressrosa, and how much do you appreciate the backstories of the 3 Chads of Dressrosa?
So Senor Pink being the first, right?
Yes.
Loved it. The other one is Law.
Yes.
Also very cool. Yeah, when we first met Law as a kid, I was like, why is this kid like, where's he going with this? I'm gonna just blow shit up and destroy things. I really like how it ended up making sense later. And the whole Corazon thing, yeah, I thought that was definitely interesting because the relationship between him and Dofi, and how Corazon and Dofi had the same childhood, the exact same childhood, and yet reached very different conclusions for how their future should go. I thought that was very interesting as well, like really, really cool. And who was the other Chad? Baby 5?
Dofi.
Oh, Dofi. All right. Yeah,
But Baby
Dofi.
5, with the power of 5 babies combined, I respect her.
Yeah, like for Dofi, like obviously I understand that he had a lot of hardship, but I can't agree with what he decided to do because of that hardship.
But
Because he did a lot of bad things.
Sense.
But I like how Corazon was added as, here's a guy who, his brother who had the same situation, and yet he didn't make these conclusions. He wanted to actually do good things, even though they were forsaken by the world government and they were commoners. He decided to still work with the Navy and try to stop his own brother because he knew that his brother was going to kill a lot of people and do a lot of bad things. So I really like that dichotomy between the two of them.
So as much as I like Law's backstory, and I like it a lot, I think Dofi's backstory is my personal favorite backstory in all of One Piece. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the most emotional. For that, I'd say probably like Brook or something. But as far as the backstory and how it ties into the character and how we see how the character evolved, I think that for me personally, this is my favorite backstory. We get to see this crazy understanding of the dragons. We get to see what twisted this man so much, and we really get to understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, and I like the fact that
you see these images of Dofi as a kid chained to a wall with stones being thrown at him because his father was literally selfless.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that his backstory builds the world as well. We're learning more about the dynamic of the Celestial Dragons vis-a-vis the rest of the world. We're learning more about Marijoa. That whole secret treasure thing was really cool, really interesting. And clearly it's all related to the Void Century and the D's versus the Celestial Dragons, the enemies of the gods. Oh, man, it's like there's these little strings, if you will, but we just can't pull them enough yet,
Nice. My favorite backstory is yet to come.
You know what? That's fair. Holy crap, you're right. I meant out of what we said so far.
Of course.
I agree with Briggs.
Actually, my 2 favorite backstories are yet to come.
Wait, what the hell? Russ, did you agree with Briggs?
No, he agrees with a different thing that you're thinking, Nux. Don't worry.
No. Rustage doesn't agree with Briggs.
No, I think Rustage already loves Kobe's backstory the most.
All right. I guess. Fuck.
God damn, I'm thinking, what the hell is Rustage's favorite backstory?
Well, he can tell you in private.
Does it start with the letter K?
No.
What the hell? I mean, my favorite that's yet to come starts with the letter O.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you don't like that character.
Neither of those.
So Nux, can you tell us what the next chapters are for next week?
Yeah, it goes until 801.
Okay, so 780 to 801, the end of Dressrosa. I can't wait to see what happens. Is Law dead, guys? That's what we're supposed to be thinking. I don't think he's dead. Not after we got that whole backstory, and not after how important his fruit will turn out to be. But I am curious as to see what Dofi means by that. And also his whole cloning thing, he can create string clones. That shit is OP too, man. His devil fruit is insanely OP.
Yeah, I would argue that is that's a negative character trait of his, that he's so powerful. I think it would have been better if he wasn't as strong.
Yeah, you almost wonder, it's does he even need that many people in his crew when he's so powerful?
Yes, because he would still get slapped by Yonko. So I guess. But no, I agree. I agree. Yeah, okay, I know which backstory you're talking about.
Okay, cool.
And I love that a lot. I just think I still like what's his name better. Dofi better.
That's fair. That's
And you know what I'm
understandable.
referring to, right? I just DM'd you, Rustage.
Well, we can do
Uh,
at some point we can do it once we catch up. We can do like an episode, talking about our favorite backstories, maybe a tier list or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure once you guys finish this podcast, you're gonna just keep doing ones in relation to like tier lists relating to One Piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and looking at the new chapters, if the people want to keep listening and if they want to keep sharing and recommending the podcast, we'll keep going because we're having a lot of fun.
Best backstory in One Piece tier list. Let's do it.
Best villain in One Piece. Best
Oh, yeah,
marine in
it's-
One Piece. Best pirate in One Piece.
Best Marine in One Piece.
Best straw
Best-
hat.
Best Senor in One Piece.
Best arc. Best moment. Best moment that made you cry.
Best boobs,
Best weapon.
We can't invite Rustage for best boobs.
bro. Buster Bust.
I don't
all
know,
One
man.
Piece
Hemlock's
edition.
Hemlock's looking good, Rustage.
Buster
Yeah,
Bust
well.
One Piece edition.
There we go.
No, I meant we can't invite Rustage because he's gay. That was a joke, by the
Oh
way.
my god.
Well, in England, gay means happy, so
Rustage is a happy man.
he's a happy man, and
With the
I
girlfriend.
wish.
we love him. And he has a female friend.
But the reason why I said it was because he had a girlfriend. If he wouldn't have had a girlfriend, I would have made that joke.
Okay.
All right, and that, my friends, is the end of the podcast.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you,
guys.
UB, for the
Thank you
5 stars.
joining. Thank you for joining us as always, every week. It's been a blast. Like I said, some people in the chat said that I'm no longer a One Piece virgin. I've definitely wet my toes in the world of One Piece, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
You meant to say wet your palate.
I thought you,
I mean,
I thought
you're
you were gonna say wet my dick.
Animac.
Yeah, I know.
I wet my
was,
panties
but
with
then
One
didn't.
Piece.
I mean,
was, but
Animac,
then
you're right in that One Piece pussy right now, but you have not finished.
I mean, none of us have.
Thank you, Rustage. I thought that you would be uncomfortable with this metaphor. I even stopped short of it, but now we're going all in, bro. We're going all
That's
into
what she
that.
said.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you, and see you, Space Guy Boss.